Good afternoon, everybody. It is Steve Lookner with Agenda Free TV. We are here to bring you live coverage of the situation between Israel and Hezbollah as fighting continues and there are fears of an all-out war. And let me just make sure I have everything turned up here. We have 3 different cameras, one from Haifa on the bottom and 2 from the Lebanon-Israel border on the top, bringing you live coverage, and want to get you updated on the latest news from the area. I really appreciate you joining us. Thanks so much to our moderators who are here. We have moderating right now. Ruth Krafasi is moderating. Jessica S. is moderating. Thank you. Hang on, let me just check something here. They're on. They're over there on YouTube. Linda Belk and Larry on X, moderating for us over there. Over on Twitch, we have A Moment of Lovely, LB Prairie Dawn, Idaho Star, Mick Britches, and Certainly Dev. And I want to shout out our Facebook moderators too. Kay Lowry Body is modding. Christina Neal. Margaret Riley. They're all over there on Facebook. Thanks for modding over there. And thank you also for your support very much. Mr. Blanksalot, I really appreciate that. It's really kind of you. And also PZ Papa Zulu and Deshark, thanks so much for your support of Agenda Free TV. Okay, let's talk about some updates. One of the viewers already mentioned this. First of all, how is... I assume you guys can hear me as well. Can you guys hear me as well as the audio from the videos? You can hear me, but you can hear both. Can you hear the audio from the videos and me too? Audio is good. Checking for you guys. People are saying yes. Good. Levels look fine to me, but figured I'd check. Okay. So, give me one moment here. People are saying yes. Okay, so the first thing I want to mention is there's this report floating around that Israel is looking into whether it has killed Yahya Sinwar, the leader of Hamas in Gaza, the leader of Hamas overall, but it's believed he's hiding in Gaza in the tunnels. There's no positive evidence for that report, just so people are clear. I'll read you what N12 News said. Not N12 News, Khan News Israel. Khan News Israel reported that in Israel they are investigating the possibility that Yahya Sinwar was killed in IDF strikes in Gaza. Currently, there is no positive intelligence to support this conclusion. And basically what they said is, in the Israeli security establishment, they're discussing, I guess he hasn't been in contact for a while. That's what the story says, is that he hasn't been in contact for a while, and there's this discussion, is he not in contact because he's no longer alive, or is he just not in contact because he's not in contact? But there's no other information besides that that suggests he's no longer alive. So I just want to be clear on this, what the reporting says. I think Barak Ravid said something similar. Yes, Barak Ravid, who's an Israeli reporter, said that 2 senior Israeli officials told him that there's no intelligence information saying Yahya Sinwar is dead. It's just for several weeks Israel has not heard anything from him. Or I guess maybe they haven't heard that he's talked to anyone else. Supposedly he's been cut off from contact for several weeks. And so Israel's looking at that and saying, oh, well, is he not contacting anybody because he's dead or just because he's out of contact? Chappie says he apparently doesn't use a cell phone, so he can't be located. Yeah, so I don't know the specifics, but I would certainly think that given that he's hiding from the Israeli military, he would try to minimize overt contacts with the outside world. I would think anytime he contacts the outside world, that is a risk of revealing his location. So, you know, just want to pass that along, that you never know what the deal is, but it's not like there's some positive intelligence that says he's no longer alive. Alpha says he probably uses runners. But again, it is believed he is hiding underground in Gaza. Okay, so if I hear anything more about that, I'll certainly update you guys. Hey, thank you, Mr. Blanks-a-lot. I mean, I agree, he is certainly at risk. He is #1 on Israel's want list, definitely. But so far, he has survived. By the way, thank you to Brutal HXC over there on Twitch for your support. What is this? I don't think this is huge news. Hezbollah I just saw a statement that they just released, and it's of a Hezbollah fighter who I guess got killed. Once in a while they release like these obituaries on the Hezbollah Telegram, and I don't know. Doesn't say how the person died. I mean, he could have died in fighting against Israel. He could have died in the airstrike on Friday in the suburb of Beirut that took out a top Hezbollah general. I don't know. So I just saw that posted up there. If I hear anything about it, I'll let you know. But that's something they do every so often, is they post like a photo of somebody who has passed away. Okay, let me give you a little summary of what's going on here. I'm going to take some comments from you guys. By the way, in terms of rocket alerts, when was the last rocket alert? There have been some drone alerts today. We should talk about that. But I think it's raining here. Where is my red alert thing here? I think it's raining. Okay. The last alerts were 3 hours ago. There were drone alerts. 3 hours ago. The last rocket alerts were 6 hours ago. And that was in northern Israel. Not many of them. Then 7 hours ago, there was one rocket alert. So the last, 12 hours or so, there have only been a couple of rocket alerts in the last 12 hours or so. Since, there were 17 hours ago would be, yeah, again, I'm looking over the last 12 hours. I only see a couple rocket alerts. There have been some drone alerts. Yeah, I'll get you some update on the drone alerts. I got to get updated on that myself. Give me a moment here. I also want to check the IDF statements. So about 2 hours ago, the Israeli Defense Force, about 2 hours ago, said, following the sirens that sounded in the southern Golan and the Beit She'an Valley areas, a drone that was launched from Iraq was identified crossing from Syria into Israeli territory. Several interceptors were launched toward the drone. No injuries were reported. The incident has concluded. So that was a couple hours ago. Israel said that there was a drone launched from Iraq that passed through Syria and was coming from Syria, and it sounds like they shot it down. That's what it sounds like. There were some reports of drones coming from Iraq last night. I assumed the drones from Iraq were from Iran-backed militia groups in Iraq. Thank you, by the way, to Natalie Perkowski. What is the difference between Hezbollah and Hamas? Hezbollah is a group that operates in Lebanon. Hamas is a group that operates in Gaza. That's the biggest difference. They're both supported by Iran. They're both anti-Israel. There's other differences too. Hamas was basically the ruling group in Gaza until the Gaza war started in last October. Hezbollah is a political party and military force in Lebanon. They both get support from Iran. Oh, a fair point by our viewer. Where's the comment? Where'd the comment go? Sachar Ziv said Hezbollah is Shia Muslim and Hamas is Sunni Muslim. Yes. I should pull up a map here anyway, and just have that handy in case I need it. Let me do this. Raining. Raining in one of these shots. I don't know which shot that audio is from. I have audio from all three of them. I can try to figure it out. Let's see. It's that one. It's the Haifa shot. Maybe I'll turn the Haifa shot down a little bit, the volume, because the rain is coming from the Haifa shot. I turned the volume on the Haifa shot down a little bit, so you can hear it some. Give me one moment. So here is a map. Gaza's down here. Gaza's down here, Lebanon's up here. Gaza's over here, Lebanon's up here. Hamas operates out of Gaza. Hezbollah operates out of Lebanon, especially southern Lebanon. Now, I wanted to mention a couple things. Thank you, by the way. No, House, the reason I have east and west located where they are is because if I move west over, then too much of the sky will be taken up by the clock. So you'll have to deal with it. Thank you, House 589 and Josie and Shai Levy and Boss Matic G for your support, and Smoke Rosen on Twitch. Hezbollah is done with attacks? No. No, I wouldn't say that at all. We don't know where this is all going. But I certainly wouldn't assume that Hezbollah is done with attacks. Let me give you a little update, a kind of summary of what's going on here. Then I'll take some comments from you guys. Here's some from today. Washington Post. Netanyahu vows whatever action is necessary as Hezbollah clash widens. Space Fraggle says may be delayed due to rain. I don't know if the rain affects the launching of rockets or not. It's a good question. The Washington Post says that Israeli officials today, Sunday, issued blunt new warnings to Hezbollah, threatening to pitch the long-simmering conflict along Lebanon's border into all-out war. Despite calls to de-escalate, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu vowed today that his military will take whatever action is necessary to eliminate the threat on Israel's northern border, an echo of his own rhetoric in the lead-up to Israel's invasion of Gaza last year. Remember, about 60,000 Israelis have had to leave the northern border area because of attacks on that area by Hezbollah from Lebanon since last October, since Israel began fighting in Gaza. So Israel is now saying that they are going to move those people back. They're going to make it safe for those people to move back here. But to do that, they got to make Hezbollah stop their attacks. How is Israel going to do that? I don't know, but something's got to give here. Those people can't move back until Hezbollah stops their attacks. Oops, let me go back here. The heightened rhetoric by Netanyahu in Israel comes amid a spike in cross-border strikes after a week of punishing Israeli attacks on the militant group Hezbollah based in Lebanon that Israeli officials said amounted to a new phase in the conflict. Israel has said that, by the way, this past week, that the war is shifting from Gaza in the south to Hezbollah in the north, Lebanon. The heightened rhetoric and the attacks of the past week on Hezbollah by Israel have caused concern among Israel's Western allies, with top U.S. and EU officials cautioning against escalation, says the Washington Post. Netanyahu's, is Netanyahu's statement in English? If his statement is in English, I can actually show you. Maybe he made a statement in English. Yes, I have it right here. Here is a statement from Netanyahu from today. Let me get it on the screen here. See, there he is, Prime Minister Netanyahu. Make it loud enough so you can hear. Hold on a second. Let me make it loud enough so you can hear. Let's try this.
On October 7th, the Hamas terrorist monsters burst into Israel, murdered our people, raped and beheaded our women, burnt babies alive, and took 255 innocent people hostage, including many Americans. A day later, on October 8th, another Iranian terrorist proxy, Hezbollah, attacked Israel completely unprovoked. They fired missiles and rockets into our cities. They made 60,000 Israelis leave their homes along the Lebanon border, becoming refugees in their own land. In the subsequent months, they haven't stopped for a single day attacking us. No country can accept the wanton rocketing of its cities. We can't accept it either. We will take whatever action is necessary to restore security and to bring our people safe back to their homes. On October 7th, the Hamas...
So there you go. He says we will take whatever action is necessary to restore security in northern Israel and bring our people safe back to their homes. Whatever action is necessary. Let me continue reading that summary from the Washington Post. Hezbollah has launched dozens of rockets, missiles, and drones across the border into Israel in recent days. We were covering it live this morning. Last night and this morning, they launched about 115 rockets. The militant group announced today that it attacked they sent rockets in the area of a northern Israeli airbase that appeared to be the deepest large barrage fired by Hezbollah since hostilities escalated last year. Hezbollah announced that it conducted a similarly deep attack in May, but it appeared to involve fewer munitions. Israel said it struck hundreds of Hezbollah targets in Lebanon since yesterday. Lebanon's health ministry announced that 3 people had been killed and 4 wounded in the strikes overnight. In Israel, sirens sounded across the north, and Israel Defense Forces restricted gatherings in the area. Also, Israel began moving significant ground troops to its northern border. Again, Israel has begun moving significant ground forces to its northern border, including the powerful 98th Army Division that participated in some of the heaviest fighting in Gaza, according to an official that the Washington Post talked to. The Israeli Defense Forces Chief of Staff said today, "The price Hezbollah is paying is increasing. Our strikes will intensify." We're going to read a little more of this summary, but I'm going to take some comments from you guys. Berserker says hardly any strikes coming from Hezbollah. Well, at the moment there are not. At the moment there are not. They don't go non-stop. We'll have to see what happens. There have not been rocket alerts in several hours. Robert, our viewer, says U.S. citizens must leave Lebanon ASAP. Well, that's what That is what the U.S. wants their citizens to do in Lebanon. The U.S. State Department said yesterday that, in a travel advisory, that they urge U.S. citizens to depart Lebanon via commercial options while still available. Strategy says Israel is going to field this one. There are no rocket alerts at the moment. Let me continue with this update from the Washington Post. The Washington Post says that last year in October, the day after the October 7th Hamas attack on Israel, and then when Israel started attacking Hamas in Gaza, on October 8th, Hezbollah began launching attacks against Israel in northern Israel in solidarity with Hamas. Since then, since last October, the violence along the border has displaced tens of thousands of people on both sides. For months, the White House has tried to broker a deal between Israel and Hezbollah, but failed to gain traction. Hezbollah, which is backed by Iran, has said it refuses to negotiate as long as Israel is still striking Gaza. So Hezbollah says we are not going to stop launching our attacks on northern Israel until there's a ceasefire in Gaza. Israel is saying, no matter what happens with Gaza, you need to stop your attacks so our people can move back. Again, something's got to give there. In Lebanon, says the Washington Post, Hezbollah is still reeling from Israeli attacks that killed senior members of the group's leadership and dismantled key communications networks. Within a week, explosives placed inside pagers and radios maimed thousands, mostly Hezbollah fighters. So this past week, on Tuesday, you had the Hezbollah pagers exploding. On Wednesday, you had the Hezbollah walkie-talkies exploding. On Friday, you had the attack on a building where a bunch of Hezbollah operatives were meeting in the suburb of Beirut, killing a number of them, including a top commander. On Friday, says the Post, an Israeli airstrike killed one of Hezbollah's top commanders, Ibrahim Akil, in Beirut's southern suburbs. The attack leveled a 9-story apartment building on a residential street in the middle of the afternoon. Residents at the site said entire families were at their home in their apartments at the time of the attack. The death toll from that strike has risen to 51, according to Lebanon's civil defense. Medical workers and children were among the casualties, according to the health ministry. Emergency crews worked for days to clear the rubble and recover victims. 10 people remain missing, and in some cases the dead will only be identifiable through their DNA, according to health and emergency personnel. That strike on that building, Israel said that the Hezbollah members were meeting underneath the building, but a building got leveled, and it was in a densely populated area. So it's not surprising. If you look at the video and photos from that strike, there is heavy damage above ground. So it certainly makes sense when you see all that there would be bystanders, civilian casualties. So where does this go, this conflict? Israel has really ramped up its rhetoric the last week or so, and its actions toward Hezbollah. And as you heard, the Prime Minister said today, Israel will do whatever it needs to do, whatever action is necessary to restore security to the northern area of Israel near Lebanon and to bring Israel's 60,000 people back to their homes in northern Israel. But how are they going to do that? How can they make Hezbollah stop attacking northern Israel? I have to put an eye drop in, I'm sorry. Riddles thinks Israel would have gone in tonight if not for the rain. You know, there was an interesting article in The Economist today, which I'll mention some of, which Faytux News actually found. And The Economist says that Israel does not have the forces there at the moment. And I've read other articles saying this too, that Israel does not have the forces to mount an invasion at the moment. Now, maybe they will at some point. That's an interesting article. I'm going to tell you some of the stuff that they said. It's called Israel and Hezbollah Creep Closer to All-Out War. Our viewer Ralph Stallworth says sounds like they have given up on the hostages. I mean, I'm sure they haven't given up on them, but at this point, you know, they're signaling that they're going to put a lot more focus on the north, on the Hezbollah issue, on the northern Israel security issue. And, you know, there's no sign that a ceasefire is coming anytime soon in the south, which would presumably be the way that they would get the hostages back. CR thinks with his continued aggression, Bibi's forces are going to get pinched. Anonymous Prepper Channel thinks world war is unavoidable with how everything has gone. Kyle White mentions that Israel, yeah, last night Israel, I have to read up on that. Maybe we'll talk about that in a little bit. Israel shut down temporarily for 45 days the Al Jazeera office in Ramallah in the West Bank. By the way, thank you to Quackers for your support as a new member, and Josie. I appreciate that. I want to keep checking for breaking updates here. I got to remind myself to check. Elior Levy, who is a journalist in Israel I follow with Channel 11, he says, he just posted in the last hour, he said, the story about Yahya Sinwar, in my eyes, is flimsy and weak. A mouse that turned into an elephant because it just sounds very juicy. I would love to be fooled. To repeat, Khan News Israel reported that Israel is looking into whether Yahya Sinwar, the leader of Hamas, has been killed, but there is no positive intelligence for this. The only reason that they're looking into it is because Sinwar has been out of contact for a while. Barak Ravid said the same thing. He said Israeli officials he talked to said there is no positive intelligence suggesting that Sinwar is dead. It's just that he has been out of contact for a few weeks. So at this point, there's not a lot of good sourcing behind that story. You know, not a lot of good evidence behind that story. But we'll have to see what happens. I guess the longer people don't hear from him, the more you might be hearing about that. Sorry, I was just checking a few sources here to make sure I wasn't missing anything breaking. Hang on a moment. Check a couple things. So Hezbollah just released a statement about stuff they have done today. And I'm going to show you the Hezbollah statement. They sometimes do exaggerate what they've done. So it's very possible that a bunch of this is exaggerated, like in the number of things they fired and what they actually did. But just to show you what they're saying, I'm going to show you this new Hezbollah statement here. I got to get it up on the screen for you, though. There it is. That's the new Hezbollah statement. They say, in support of the Palestinian people in Gaza and in support of their brave and honorable resistance, we carried out a number of operations against the positions and deployment of the Israeli enemy army on the Lebanon-Palestinian border on Sunday today, according to the following. They said that this was this morning. They said they targeted the Ramat David air base and airport with dozens of missiles as a response to repeated Israeli attacks that have targeted various Lebanese regions and led to the fall of many civilian martyrs. They said they also targeted the air base as a response. Oh, these were two different rocket attacks here. They released statements like the statement saying this earlier today. This was overnight. These were two different rocket barrages. At 6:30 a.m., they said, the military-industrial complexes of the Rafael Company, which specializes in electronic means and equipment, located north of Haifa, were targeted with dozens of missiles and rockets as a first response to the brutal massacre committed by the Israeli enemy in various Lebanese regions daily, Tuesday and Wednesday, the pager and radio massacre. So this is all of this they had said earlier today. This is like a summary of what they've done today. But that's 1 through 3 is stuff they had already said today. For all I know, they've said all of this today. They also said that today that 2 air attacks were launched with swarms of attack drones on Israeli soldiers. They claim they hit the targets accurately. That could just be false. I don't know that to be. I haven't heard reports of lots of drones hitting Israeli targets today. They said that was a response to Israel's attacks on southern villages and safe houses. Targeting al-Baghdadi's location with missile weapons and hitting him directly. I don't know what that's about. I don't know what that one's about. That might be something. I think that's probably something involving Israel that it's not apparent in the translation. Targeting the Mayan Baruch site with missile weapons and causing a direct hit. I'm assuming 5 just has to do with Israel. Then they said a radar site in the Israeli-occupied Lebanese Sheba Farms area was hit by artillery and our shells. Did they really hit the Israeli radar site? I don't know. And then the last couple here. After monitoring and following up on Israeli forces at the Al-Mar site, when a tank was spotted inside the site, we targeted it with a guided missile and directly hit it and left its crew dead or wounded. I don't know if that's true. Could just be false. After observing and following up on the enemy forces at another site, we targeted them with artillery shells and wounded them directly. So again, this is basically, they just came out with this statement. It's like a what we did today against Israel summary. That's what this statement is. It's all their claims about what they did against Israel today. I would not be surprised if some of it is exaggerated. Also, you know, like Hamas does this too, where they'll sometimes claim that they attacked Israeli troops and they were successful. And Israel does announce when their troops are injured or killed, and it becomes clear that they didn't do it. So, again, I can't speak to all these individual things, but that's a statement that Hezbollah just released. So, I wanted to show you that. Lee Jack says Israel does what it has to do to protect itself and its people. But if Israel didn't have to appease the international community like the thorn in its side UN, these wars most likely would be over. That's what our viewer Lee Jack says. Hey, thank you, Robin, for your support. Thank you, Catherine, for your support. The conflict right now, I mean, there's all kinds of issues that go back in the Middle East over, you know, at root, a main part of it is people fighting over land that that different groups claim as their own. But right now, what's going on with Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon is, again, Hezbollah has been launching attacks on northern Israel since last October, in support of Hamas in Gaza. Israel has had to move 60,000 people out from northern Israel. Now Israel is saying, we want to move the people back. The attacks are going to stop. Hezbollah says, we're not going to stop attacking because there's no ceasefire in Gaza, and that's where we're at. And Israel is basically sounding like they're going to take very, very strong action to do whatever they need to do to make it safe in northern Israel for the people to go back and live there. That's the near-term summary of what's going on. I wanted to mention this this Economist article, some of it, called Israel and Hezbollah creep closer to all-out war, but Israel does not yet have the forces in place to invade, says The Economist. Oops, where did my headline go? There we go. By the way, thank you to our moderators. We have Ruth Krafasi moderating. Thank you, Ruth. Karams, Sabrina, much appreciated. Also over there on Twitch, A Moment of Lovely, Big Ball of Yarn, David Green, LB Prairiedon, Idaho Star, McBritches, Sarah, and Surly Dev. Thank you. On Facebook, Valerie Gale Griffin, Christina Neal, Kay Lowry Body, Margaret Riley. Thanks so much for moderating over there. Linda Belk and Larry on X. And thanks to Benjula X Unwasted Resale for becoming a new member over there on YouTube. And Robin as well. And Catherine, thank you, Catherine, for your support. And Sven Hoke. Thank you, Sven Hoke. And Chris Canada, Quebec City. Chris says, I am 56. I've heard this he started rhetoric every month since I was old enough to be able to reason. These two people cannot live on the same planet. Both are not mature enough. That's it. That's what Chris Canada, Quebec City says. Thank you also to Babs, our new member, Babs. All right, so here's some of what The Economist has to say. If you want to read The Economist article, look up The Economist, Israel and Hezbollah creep closer to all-out war. By the way, there is one of these cameras is louder than the others. Which one is it? It's not that one. One of them I got to turn down a little bit, just a little bit. It's not that one. It's got to be this one. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so some of the things that The Economist says, just want to pick and choose a couple things they say. So they say that the walkie-talkie and pager attacks signaled a shift in Israel, with Israel taking the initiative and ratcheting up the war. I mean, sort of the low-level war that's going on right now, but this is interesting. And again, I appreciate Faytuck's News finding this article today, originally. The Economist says, despite the escalations from the past week, this is not yet an all-out war. Neither side has unleashed anything close to their full firepower. You know, I sometimes get this question from you guys, well, what would an all-out war look like? So what The Economist says is, despite the escalation, this is not yet all-out war. Neither side has unleashed anything close to their full firepower. From Hezbollah, that would mean firing much larger salvos, much larger barrages, including long-range missiles toward key civilian and military locations in central Israel, and mounting multiple ground incursions into Israeli territory. For Israel, it would include a much wider bombing campaign against Hezbollah's missile network, including at launch sites within civilian areas of Lebanon, and as a final resort, destroying civilian infrastructure in Lebanon in the hope of turning the Lebanese population against Hezbollah. Many Lebanese already resent the group's war with Israel. Now, this is also interesting, and they also say, The Economist, military sources say Israel is also planning a ground offensive that would include the capture of a buffer zone consisting of a few miles of territory north of the border. I was reading an article from, I think, the Washington Post a couple days ago, or maybe AP, that talked about this possibility. I don't know. I mean, we heard back last year, I remember reading articles about how Israel was considering a buffer zone in Gaza where Israeli troops would basically occupy the part of Gaza near the Israeli border to make sure that, people wouldn't cross the border from Gaza and people wouldn't be firing stuff over the border. That's really tough politically. In addition to any kind of practical considerations, you're basically occupying territory that's not yours. So it would be a huge deal if Israel says, we're going to not only invade southern Lebanon with ground troops, but we're going to keep them there in some sort of semi-permanent way as a buffer zone. So I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but that I'll believe when I see it. It's a very, again, in addition to any kind of practical considerations, it's very tough politically. But who knows? Who knows? I don't know what they're going to do. The Economist also says the IDF has announced the deployment of a second division that was in Gaza until about a month ago to the north in readiness for a ground invasion. However, The Economist says, on a visit to the border over the weekend, such an invasion did not seem imminent. Combat units were training over the Sabbath on bases in the north, but had not yet begun to muster in staging areas by the border. One reserve officer told The Economist, the plans for a ground invasion are ready, but we're still a way off from having sufficient forces here to carry them out. So will some sort of ground invasion happen? Even if Israel doesn't want to establish a buffer zone with troops there, they could still mount some sort of ground invasion to push Lebanon, to push Hezbollah back from the southern border. Obviously, that's a huge deal if there's an Israeli ground invasion of Lebanon. It was a huge deal when Israel went into Gaza, but the Hezbollah is a much more formidable military force than Hamas was. So we'll have to see if that happens. Osbert says it would be huge. Walrus says, I have a feeling if that happens, if Israel, you mean a buffer zone or just a ground invasion, that Israel will face condemnation. Excessive Force says Israel is already pushing their luck with these strikes in Beirut. You're Taking My Life says the buffer zone that is supposed to already be in place because of UN Resolution 1701. Well, there is a UN resolution which was signed by both Israel and Hezbollah, I think in 2006, which calls for Hezbollah to be 18 miles, I think, from the border. But that also does not call for Israeli troops to be in that buffer zone. You're Taking My Life says UN forces are not enforcing the zone that's supposed to be there from UN Resolution 1701. The Economist in their article today said, unlike in Gaza, the framework for a ceasefire to the war in Lebanon already exists in the form of United Nations Resolution 1701. It mandates a withdrawal of Hezbollah forces to the Litani River nearly 18 miles from the border. But Hassan Nasrallah from Hezbollah, the leader, refuses to do so until Israel withdraws from Gaza. The Economist also says, whatever Netanyahu says, neither his goals nor his strategy are clear. Also interesting, The Economist says the priority for Mr. Netanyahu is to prove to an increasingly critical Israeli public that he can deliver on at least one front. In Gaza, Israeli forces have destroyed much of the Gaza Strip and with it the Hamas military structure, but they have failed to rescue the hostages, the 101 hostages still held there, or to force Hamas to accept a ceasefire on Israel's terms. The Economist thinks Mr. Netanyahu wants to shift focus to the north and decouple the two fronts. Anyways, if you want to read the whole Economist article, it's interesting. It's called Israel and Hezbollah Creep Closer to All-Out War in The Economist. What if all the hostages already are dead? Well, first of all, they'd want to get back the bodies anyway, but Israel believes that they are not all dead. I believe that's probably based on intelligence of some sort. Sounds like a ambulance or something. The Economist is it's a news magazine and website. It's very good. It's called The Economist. There was an article back in late June from Jerusalem Post where they said that the Wall Street Journal reported that it was believed that around 50 hostages are still alive. There's no exact number. And I think that was before 6 of them were found dead by Israel in Rafah. But so that would leave about, 40 something. Anyways, these are the kinds of numbers you hear, generally speaking. But, of course, I don't have exact information for you. But Israel does believe, reportedly, that dozens of hostages are still alive. Stephen Roberts, our viewer, says taking and holding ground are two very different things. Human says, were last night's rockets fired by Hezbollah as a response to the pager? Were they the whole response or just part of it? We don't know. Hezbollah in their statement said it was an initial response to the pager and walkie-talkie attacks. It basically just leaves it open for them. It was ambiguous. So we don't know. We do not know. Our viewer Elon Tin says one of the reasons that Hezbollah is very active in southern Lebanon is because it is mainly Shia and they have greater support there. That's what our viewer Elon Tin says. Thanks for writing in. Our viewer Deshark pointed out that Sky News reported that the Islamic resistance in Iraq, which is a term used by Iran-backed groups in Iraq, said it had launched a drone on basically at Israel today. That was a couple hours ago. The Israeli Defense Force did say that they dealt with a drone that was fired from Iraq several hours ago and was coming at Israel through Syria. Thank you to Kelpie for your support. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Martin Gingrich, who says, is Hamas still a threat or have they been scattered and neutralized? I honestly don't know. I don't know what kind of access to rockets they have. If Israel were to pull out of Hamas, of Gaza completely, would they start firing more rockets? I do not know. How many fighters of theirs are around? How quickly could they recruit new people? No idea. I mean, at a certain point, I'm sure that there's people in Gaza after this war who don't like Israel and would be open to fighting against Israel. Did I say out of Hamas? I meant out of Gaza. But I don't know. If they don't have a lot of weaponry there, how soon could they get more weaponry smuggled in? No idea. Thank you, Martin Gingrich. It's a good question. Thank you, Brian Burkhart, as well. Thank you, Fode Sanko. Thank you so much, Fode, and Anonymous Nobody for your support. Gan Barizzer says, you cannot kill an ideology. When you create the conditions for resentment and anger to thrive, it is madness. Jolly Man thinks trouble in the Middle East is never going to stop. I'll read some of what Moose's Backyard wrote. Moose's Backyard wrote in and said, Israel's argument that no country would accept a group launching rockets on their territory without taking action is very fair and compelling, but that is just one side. In the same way, says Moose's Backyard, no people would accept to live under siege or have their land occupied. Moose's Backyard thinks they are resistance as any other in the world, but one that doesn't serve the West's interests. And thinks if Israel was the U.S.'s enemy, the U.S. would be the ones arming Hamas and Hezbollah. That's what our viewer Moose's Backyard thinks. Thank you, Moose's Backyard, for writing in. I'm just making sure I haven't missed in the last few minutes anything. The last rocket alerts were a little while ago. There were drone alerts like 4 hours ago. The last rocket alerts, I think, well, there was like one rocket alert 4 hours ago and one rocket alert 7 hours ago and one 8 hours ago. There have been a few of them. I mean, really, the last big ones were like in the morning, about 18 hours ago or so. You can see the time on the screen. It's currently 1:25 a.m. Israel and Lebanon time, Monday. I'm going to give you some more updates here. Is there a new... a new IDF statement, guys. There's a new IDF statement from Israel 20 minutes ago. A short while ago, with the direction of IDF and ISA intelligence, the Israeli Air Force conducted a precise strike on Hamas terrorists who were operating inside a command and control center in the central Gaza Strip. The command and control center, which was embedded inside a compound that had previously served as the Khaled ibn al-Walid School, was used by Hamas terrorists to plan and execute terrorist attacks against IDF troops and the State of Israel. Prior to the airstrike, numerous steps were taken to mitigate the risk of harming civilians, including the use of precise munitions, aerial surveillance, and additional intelligence information. This is a further example, Israel says, of the Hamas terrorist organization's systematic abuse of civilian infrastructure and violation of international law. The IDF will continue to operate against Hamas in defense of the citizens of Israel. Meanwhile, Al Jazeera reports that there are some dead and injured as the result of Israel hitting this school. Now, I believe maybe it wasn't acting currently as a school, although sometimes with these schools it can be a place where people in Gaza are taking refuge. So I don't know what happened. I mean, Israel said they were targeting this Hamas command and control center, which was using this building formerly used as a school. They said they did their best to minimize, bystander casualties. Were bystanders hurt or injured? I have no idea. This is kind of a common thing in Gaza, this kind of thing. So just letting you know, because I'm just seeing this right now. Someone in the chat mentioned the Al Jazeera closure. Let me show you something about that. Israel raids and shuts down Al Jazeera's bureau in Ramallah in the West Bank. There's a photo from the Israeli forces going into the bureau. That was, I think, this morning, last night or this morning. That's from Associated Press. I'll tell you a little about that. Here's a couple more photos. AP says Israeli troops raided the offices of Al Jazeera news network in the Israeli-occupied West Bank early today, ordering it to shut down amid a widening campaign by Israel targeting Al Jazeera, the Qatar-funded broadcaster, as it covers the Israel-Hamas war in the Gaza Strip. Al Jazeera aired footage of Israeli troops live on its Arabic language channel, ordering the office to be shut for 45 days. It follows an order issued in May. In May, Israeli police raided Al Jazeera's broadcast position in East Jerusalem, seizing equipment there and preventing its broadcasts in Israel and blocking its websites. The move marked the first time Israel has ever shuttered a foreign news outlet operating in the country. However, Al Jazeera has continued operating in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, territories that Palestinians hope to have for their future state. The Israeli military acknowledged the raid 12 hours later. Maybe there's an IDF statement on this I can read you. Hang on a second. Let me see what the IDF said about this. I have another statement from the IDF I want to read you as well. You know what? I can't find that statement. Give me one sec here. Anyways, AP says that the Israeli military alleged, without providing evidence, that the Al Jazeera newsroom in the West Bank was being used to incite terror, to support terrorist activities, and that the channel's broadcast endanger security and public order. Al Jazeera denounced Israel's, quote, unfounded accusations as it continued broadcasting live from Amman, Jordan, even as Israeli troops welded shut the office doors in Ramallah and confiscated its equipment. Al Jazeera said Al Jazeera will not be intimidated or deterred by efforts to silence its coverage, it said. Armed Israeli troops this morning entered the Al Jazeera office in the West Bank and told a reporter live on air that it would be shut down, saying that staff needed to leave immediately. The network later aired what appeared to be Israeli troops tearing down a banner on a balcony used by the Al Jazeera office. Al Jazeera said that banner bore an image of Shireen Abu Akleh, a Palestinian-American journalist shot dead by Israeli forces in May 2022. Al Jazeera's local bureau chief later told the AP that the Israeli military cited laws dating back to the British Mandate of Palestine, which I think is the earliest 20th century, to support its closure order. Yes, that was in the early 20th century. From roughly 1923 to 1940s. The Palestinians secured limited self-rule in Gaza and parts of the occupied West Bank through the 1993 Oslo agreements. While Israel occupies and controls vast areas of the West Bank, Ramallah, which is where this Al Jazeera office is, Ramallah is under full Palestinian political and security control, making the Israeli raid on the Al Jazeera office in Ramallah that much more surprising, says AP. AP also says the Palestinian Journalist Syndicate denounced the Israeli raid and closure order. This arbitrary military decision is a new aggression against journalistic work and media outlets, it said. The Israeli communication minister Shlomo Karhi described the raid as affecting the mouthpiece of Hamas and Hezbollah. That's what he called Al Jazeera. He said, "We will continue to fight the enemy channels and ensure the safety of our heroic fighters." Neither he nor the Israeli military addressed what legal authority Israel had to order the Al Jazeera office closed. Israel's Foreign Press Association said it was deeply troubled by this escalation, which threatens press freedom, and urges the Israeli government to reconsider these actions. It remains unclear whether the Israeli military will target Al Jazeera's operation in Gaza. Al Jazeera has been running 24-hour coverage in the Gaza Strip since October 7th. Little background here from AP. So we're talking about, again, this story that this morning Israel raided and shut down Al Jazeera's bureau in Ramallah in the West Bank. You can see the screen grab there of Israeli soldiers at the Al Jazeera bureau. Little background here from AP. While including on-the-ground reporting of the war's casualties, Al Jazeera's Arabic arm, Al Jazeera Arabic language, often pushes verbatim exact copies. Al Jazeera's Arabic arm often pushes verbatim video statements from Hamas and other regional militant groups. That has led to Israeli claims by officials, including Prime Minister Netanyahu, that Al Jazeera has harmed Israel's security and incited against soldiers. Those claims have been vehemently denied by Al Jazeera, whose main funder, Qatar, has been key in negotiations between Israel and Hamas to reach a ceasefire to end the war. The Israeli government has taken action against individual reporters over the decades since its founding in 1948, but it broadly allows for a media scene that includes foreign bureaus from around the world, even from Arab nations. It has also blocked the foreign broadcast of the Hezbollah-affiliated Beirut-based Al Mayadeen news channel at the start of the war. Criticism of Al Jazeera is not new, says AP. Washington singled out Al Jazeera during the U.S. occupation of Iraq after its 2003 invasion toppled dictator Saddam Hussein, and for airing videos of the late al-Qaeda chief Osama bin Laden. Also, Al Jazeera has been closed or blocked by other governments in the Middle East. In 2013, Egyptian authorities raided a luxury hotel used by Al Jazeera as an operating base after the military takeover that followed mass protests against President Mohamed Morsi. The closure of Al Jazeera's Ramallah office by the Israeli military also comes as tensions continue to rise over a possible expansion of the war to Lebanon, where electronic devices exploded last week in a likely sabotage campaign by Israel targeting the Shiite militia Hezbollah. So, again, in Ramallah, which is supposed to be basically under Palestinian control, Israel has raided and shut down the Al Jazeera office there for 45 days, I believe it is. Yes, for 45 days. I was wondering yesterday, is there any chance Israel has shut down the West Bank office of Al Jazeera for 45 days because Israel is planning some kind of military action against Hezbollah in Lebanon soon, and they don't want Al Jazeera operating in the West Bank during that military operation? It was just a thought I had. What in the world says yes? Lucky Minute says absolutely. Danny G says probably. Mouse says Israel is going to take a West Bank. I don't know about that. I mean, another thing is that Israel could be planning on mounting some kind of operation in the West Bank, or increasing security forces in the West Bank while they carry out an operation in Lebanon or something. Thanks, by the way, to Yael for your support, who says other countries have banned Al Jazeera. I don't know that whole history. I mean, I mentioned that the Egypt thing in that article. Thanks also, Smoker, for the gift memberships. Thank you, Smoker. Thank you to Xander Hatmaker, who thinks Israel says buildings are Hamas command centers to justify killing civilians. Thank you also to Alex S. for your support, who thinks Israel is too patient. They should have shut down Al Jazeera a long time ago. That's like Ukraine allowing Russian state media to operate in their territory. Thank you, Vince Lasagna, who says 45 days till the U.S. election. I think it might be less. No. Yeah. Well, no, I think it's 44 days. Although maybe it depends on how you count. Thank you, Vince. Yeah, it's close. We will be doing election coverage, of course. Thanks also to all of our moderators who are here. A Moment of Lovely, Big Ball of Yarn, David Green, LB Prairie Dawn, Idaho Star, McBritches, Sarah, and Surly Dev. Thank you. On Twitch, on Facebook, Kay Lowry Body, Margaret Riley, Christina Neal, Valerie Gail Griffin. Thank you so much. Linda Belk and Larry on X. On YouTube, Ruth Krafasi is over there. Thank you. Hey, shout out also to some of our subscribers, like on Twitch, our subscribers over there, like Wall Street and Shaggy. Buy Your Own, thanks for subscribing. Smoke Rosin, Brutal HXC, thanks for being a subscriber. Tech Slug, just to name a few. Quake Clouds, I'll say Tuck F, Alyat Sion, and all of our other subscribers over there. Also our Facebook subscribers like Diane Allworth, Kay Lowry Body, Margaret Riley, Eve Richards, Beth Shepard. Thanks, Beth, for moderating too. Lou Green, Robert Rial II. Did I say Diane Allworth? Thanks, Diane. And also some of our YouTube members. Appreciate all of our YouTube members. Just to shout some of them out. Mythical, Donna Smith, Evelyn in Maine, Sea Turtle, Jesse's Girl, Lucky Minute, KC Veteran, Sophie B, Red Squirrel, Mary, Myrie, JB, Mika Way, Zenialis, Frosty, Marissa Pugliese, Karine Amos, Jennifer Rochelle, Brig Commander, all of our YouTube members, the one and only Pam Turner, all of them, thank you. Smedley. Okay. Deshark mentioned to me that the Israeli president, which I think is basically a ceremonial position in Israel, the president is mostly ceremonial, says Wikipedia. He today, according to Sky News, rejected claims that Israel was involved in this week's exploding pager and walkie-talkie attacks in Lebanon. Again, it has been widely reported, including by many Western media outlets, that Israel did it, that Israel discussed it afterwards with the U.S. As The Economist says, they would be the only ones with the means and the motive to do it, you would think. So personally, I don't really, at this point, even if the president of Israel is denying it, that's really not going to change my view on what happened. I have a hard time believing that anyone else would do it. I mean, just the resources necessary to carry out such an operation. Thanks to Shark for writing in. Hormonal Glock says that Security Council Resolution 1701 required Lebanon to disarm Hezbollah as a function of government control. Israel left as they were supposed to. Hezbollah armed further and upped its troop count south of the border. That's what Hormonal Glock says. What is Israel supposed to do, says Hormonal Glock, if Lebanon and the UN won't enforce its resolution? So, I am not like an expert on Resolution 1701. That is from, I think, 2006. I will say, though, yeah, you can read, like for example, if you want to read the Israeli position on it, the IDF has a page on it, the Israeli Defense Force. They say that the international community has demanded many times that Hezbollah disarm, and said Hezbollah has ignored these demands. They ignored 1701 UN resolution, which called for a zone free of armed personnel besides Army of Lebanon. They talk about that. Israel says at the end of the Second Lebanon War in 2006, a ceasefire between different parties was reached. The UN Security Council issued Resolution 1701. It said the establishment between basically the border and 18 miles north of an area free of any armed personnel, assets, and weapons other than those of the government of Lebanon. Israel says in clear violation of the resolution, Hezbollah has remained in southern Lebanon and has even expanded its missile arsenal. Anyways, if you want to read more about that, southern Lebanon remains Hezbollah's terrorist stronghold, Israel says. Hezbollah has not disarmed. Anyways, you can read Israel's view of this if you go to what is UN Resolution 1701 and why is it important. That's from the Israeli Defense Forces. I will say, though, you know, when you hear Israel talk about, in the last week, for example, about taking action against Hezbollah, they're not couching it. Now, maybe it's underneath there. But Israel, you don't hear, like in Prime Minister Netanyahu's statement today, I don't think he talked about Resolution 1701. So just to be clear, in terms of Israel's rhetoric, it's not like they're constantly emphasizing 1701, although maybe it's something in the background. What they're saying now is, we want to move our people back to northern Israel, because 60,000 of them have had to move away since last October because Hezbollah has launched attacks on northern Israel. We want these attacks to stop. We're going to make them stop. We're going to do whatever we need to do to move people back there. So my point is that Israel's stated goal right now that they're focusing on is not full implementation of Security Council Resolution 1701. It's to get their people back to the northern border so they can allow their tens of thousands of people to go back and live there. I'm glad you brought up the resolution, and I appreciate you mentioning it. But I just want to be clear that is the rhetoric right now from Israel is not full implementation of Security Council Resolution 1701. Let's fix things and stop these attacks so that our people can move back to northern Israel. By the way, if you want to read about that Security Council resolution, you can go to Wikipedia, has a whole page about it. and it was a resolution intended to resolve the 2006 Lebanon war. It says in the Wikipedia article, as of 2024, the resolution was not fully implemented. While Israeli forces did withdraw from Lebanon, Hezbollah and other armed groups in southern Lebanon have not. Hezbollah has since significantly increased their weapons capabilities and has increased the deployment of its forces south of the Litani River, whereas it is not supposed to be south of the Litani River, according to the resolution. I'll post a link to that article on Wikipedia. The Litani River is 18 miles north of the border. I just posted a link to it. Thank you, Hormonal Glock, for writing in. I appreciate it. Peter Gustafson, our viewer, thinks tonight all hell is going to break loose. That's what Peter thinks. I hope not. All right, we are bringing you updates. There has not been a rocket alert, I want to say in about 5 or 6 hours, but tensions are high. Will there be an all-out war between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon? We do not know. Israel is saying it will do whatever it takes to make Hezbollah stop attacking northern Israel and to be able to make northern Israel safe for its 60,000 or so people to move back there. Hezbollah is saying it is not going to stop attacking northern Israel until Israel reaches a ceasefire in Gaza. What is going to happen? We'll have to see. Hey, thanks to Pieman Z for your support, and Red Squirrel as well. Oh, is there a video here? Hold on a second. I might have a video I can show you. Let's see. What is this video here? I can show you. I just have to make sure when it gets to about 2 minutes. There's some video. There's a Reuters video I want to show you in a second about things. First of all, let me kind of give you, I'll just give you a little update on the situation from Reuters. Hezbollah and Israel exchange heavy fire in new phase of fighting. We were covering this last night and this morning. Hezbollah and, when we were covering it last night, it was Sunday morning, Israel and Lebanon time. Reuters says Hezbollah and Israel exchanged heavy fire into Sunday as the Lebanese militant group sent rockets deep into northern Israeli territory after facing some of the most intense bombardment in almost a year of conflict. The Hezbollah deputy chief, Naim Qassem, told mourners at the funeral this afternoon of one of the group's commanders killed last week in Beirut by Israel. Hezbollah Deputy Chief Naim Qassem said, "We have entered a new phase, the title of which is the open-ended battle of reckoning." I hadn't heard that quote. "We have entered a new phase, the title of which is the open-ended battle of reckoning." Give me one moment here. I have some video of that funeral I can show you. Well, it's not in English. It's not in English, so maybe I'll show it later. Oh, hold on. Maybe I'll just show you a little bit of it. Here's a little of the video. I'm going to show you a little of the video of the funeral for Ibrahim Akil and Mahmoud Hamad, senior leader and Hezbollah member. Senior Hezbollah leader and Hezbollah member who were killed in Israel's strike in a suburb of Beirut on Friday. So just to show it to you, here's a little of what it looked like. This was earlier today. This is not live, but just to show you some of it. Oops, if it plays here. I have to get it on the screen. Hold on. Let me start playing it and you'll see it. See if this works. So that's the funeral for Ibrahim Akil. في جوار العزيز القادر بزغ نور فجر وعبد القادر. I'll kind of skim through there a little bit. So see, those are Hezbollah flags. So those are, see the yellow flags? Those are Hezbollah flags. I assume those are all Hezbollah fighters right there. That's from this afternoon. The other person is somebody else from Hezbollah who was killed in the airstrike. I'm just showing you a little of this. Oops, I have to refresh. Hold on, let me refresh. Oops, hold on. Let me do it this way. Hold on, hold on. A lot of yellow flags there, a lot of yellow Hezbollah flags at this funeral today. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. عهدا لك نبايعك This is from earlier today. The funeral. Again, this was the funeral of the senior Hezbollah leader killed in the Israeli strike on Friday. Let me show you a little more of this. Hang on. Again, this was this afternoon in Lebanon. It was this afternoon, Sunday afternoon in Lebanon, is when this funeral happened. All those Hezbollah flags there. Oh, and then so they did one of these processions after. See, and they have the coffins on the truck. With the Hezbollah flags on the truck. This was in the southern suburbs of Beirut. Sorry, I turned the volume off because there was some music playing on it. It's prayers, so you know. It may count as copyrighted music, so I didn't want to have an issue with that. Anyways, maybe I'll just, is there anything at the end there I want to show you? Just I wanted to show you what that looked like today. Oops, sorry. Right here. Anyways, gives you a sense of what it was like there during that funeral. Okay. Hey, thanks so much to Janice McConnell for your support. I really appreciate that, Janice. Anyways, so I got to turn one of these streams, the rain sound is loud. It might be Haifa. I think it might be the Haifa one. Is it? I can't tell. Maybe it's not that one. Oh no, it's the other one. It's a different one. I'll turn that down a bit. Hey, I have a little update for you guys, a little news story that's not related to this. I hadn't heard this. CNN reports that four senior campaign officials for Mark Robinson have stepped down after a CNN report uncovered inflammatory comments he made on a porn website. Anyways, I'm not going to get into that right now. Oh, the rain is so loud. I got to turn it down more. It's raining a lot on the Lebanon-Israel border east stream. That's the one it's raining a lot on, so I just turned down the volume on that one. Mark Robinson is a Republican candidate for governor in North Carolina. Thanks to our new member, Amy. Anyways, I wanted to get back. I was reading you that Reuters update. And so the Reuters update said that in that funeral for the Hamas commander who was killed by Israel on Friday, the Hezbollah deputy chief during that funeral told mourners, "We have entered a new phase, the title of which is the open-ended Battle of Reckoning." Now I'm hearing rain on another streamer. The Israeli defense minister said operations will continue until it's safe for evacuated people on the Israeli side of the border to return to their homes, also setting the stage for a long conflict as Iran-backed Hezbollah has vowed to keep the attacks up on Israel until a ceasefire in the parallel Gaza war. Israel's chief of the general staff, Herzi Halevi, said in a televised statement that the military was well prepared in Israel for the next stages of fighting, which were coming in the next few days, but did not say what this would entail. Again, Israel's chief of general staff said in a televised statement that the Israeli military was well prepared for the next steps of fighting, which were coming in the next few days, but he did not say what this would entail. He said, "We will do whatever it takes to remove threats against Israel." The conflict, which has escalated sharply in the last week, has raged since Hezbollah opened a second front against Israel last October 8th, saying that it was acting in support of Palestinians facing an Israeli offensive further south in Gaza. Is that rain still coming from that one camera? Yeah. Last Tuesday and Wednesday, thousands of pagers and walkie-talkies used by Hezbollah members exploded. The attack was widely blamed on Israel, which has not confirmed or denied responsibility. The following day, Israel launched its heaviest bombardment of Lebanon yet. And then on Friday, an Israeli airstrike on Beirut's southern suburb targeted senior Hezbollah commanders in an attack that killed, I think it's 51 people now. Hezbollah said 16 members of Hezbollah were among the dead, including senior leader Ibrahim Akil and its another commander, Ahmed Wabi. That's more rain on that one shot. I got to turn it down. In a further intense bombardment on Saturday, the Israeli military said it struck around 290 targets, including thousands of Hezbollah launcher barrels. Prime Minister Netanyahu said today of Israel, "In recent days, we have inflicted a series of blows on Hezbollah that it never imagined. If Hezbollah has not understood the message, I promise you it will understand the message," Prime Minister Netanyahu said. Speaking at the Hezbollah funeral on Sunday for the Hezbollah leader killed by Israel, Hezbollah's Qasem said Israel was seeking to paralyze Hezbollah but would not succeed. Qasem said that Israel's escalation of the conflict would lead to further displacement of Israel's own citizens. An official in the Islamic Resistance in Iraq, a grouping of Iran-backed armed factions, said they launched cruise missile and explosive drone attacks at Israel at dawn on Sunday as part of a new phase in our support front with Lebanon. The official said escalation in Lebanon means escalation from Iraq. Now what am I hearing? These are loud noises on some of these cameras tonight. Now it seems like we're hearing like street cleaning equipment. That's coming from this one, maybe? It's like a street cleaning equipment or something. I want to show you guys a video from Reuters that goes with their article that I was reading from. Hezbollah, Israel exchange heavy fire in new phase of fighting. Let me get this video up for you from them so you can see it here. Talking about some of the new fighting. All right, I'm going to show you this video right now. This is a video from Reuters. Let's check this out. I'm going to play most of it. I'm not going to play the part where they show the exploding pager. I'll skip over that. Let me, before I do that, let me just quiet down for a moment the cameras that we're watching. And here is the video from Reuters, right here. Let's see if this works. Hopefully it works.
Israel and Hezbollah exchanged heavy fire into Sunday. Smoke rose above Lebanon as Israeli warplanes carried out the most intense bombardment across the country's south in almost a year of conflict, while Hezbollah fired rockets deep into northern Israel. The Israeli military said it struck around 290 targets on Saturday and that it would continue to hit more. In the Lebanese capital of Beirut, residents like Diala expressed frustration and hurt after a week of escalating tensions.
For sure, we don't want war. We are not happy about it. But in the end, we don't have a choice or an answer for what's happening. I believe all Lebanese people share the same perspective and the same pain. No words can describe what's going on or the sequence of the incidents.
Sirens sounded across Israel all night as multiple rockets and missiles were fired from Lebanon and Iraq. The Israeli military said most of those were intercepted by the country's aerial defense systems. The country closed schools, restricted gatherings in many northern areas, and told hospitals there to transfer operations to facilities with extra protection from rocket and missile fire. There were no government directives from Lebanon on Sunday morning. The conflict has raged since Hezbollah opened a second front against Israel. That's after Israel went to war with Hamas in the Palestinian enclave of Gaza, triggered by the October 7th Hamas-led rampage in Israel. Israel's subsequent assault on Gaza has killed more than 41,400 Palestinians, according to the local health ministry, and displaced nearly the entire 2.3 million strong population. The escalating attacks come less than 48 hours after an Israeli airstrike targeting Hezbollah commanders in a suburb of the Lebanese capital. The Lebanese health ministry said on Sunday that the death toll from that strike had risen to at least 45.
All right, I have to skip over the few seconds where they show the person whose pager exploded. Let me just do that. Okay, I think I did it. I think I got past that one. I'll finish that video. I'll finish that video here.
The death toll in those attacks, widely believed to have been carried out by Israel, has risen to at least 39, with more than 3,000 injured. Israel has neither confirmed nor denied involvement.
All right, so that's a little summary from Reuters about what's going on there. Now I'll turn let me get the volume back up on these. Volume back up on these cameras here. Thank you to Weddy Fishay for your support. I appreciate that, Weddy. Thank you. Hold on a second here. Why are people saying red alerts? I didn't get any red alert on my phone. A couple people said there were red alerts, but most people are not saying red alerts. No, the red alert so far doesn't say any red alerts. Why are people saying that? I haven't seen any red alert at all. It's not on the red alert app. Meaning a rocket alert. I'm not aware of any alerts. Yeah, everybody's saying no red alerts. So I don't know why people are posting that, some people. Thank you, by the way, to Tim747. I appreciate it. Also, Warlord Wolf and Jim1231 and Lisa Marie, all on Twitch. Thank you. It was on the video? There was one on the video? I'm not aware of any kind of rocket alert at the moment. I haven't seen it reported anywhere. It's not on my app. Nothing. Thank you so much. I'll say Evil B. Evil B, thanks for the gift memberships. Evil B, thank you. Appreciate your support. The alerts are issued by the Israeli government, but there are, like, you can get an app, for example, that will tell you if there's an alert. But the Israeli government is the ones who issues the alerts, the rocket alerts and the drone alerts and everything. Yeah, I don't. There has not been a rocket alert for about 7 hours. About. I think there was one like 5 hours ago and like one like 7 hours ago. Then there was a drone alert about 5 hours ago. It's been pretty quiet for the last few hours. Oh, you know what? I saw what I want to show you guys. There was an Israeli Defense Force statement today that I wanted to show you guys. Let me show you that. What is this? Hold on one second here. Hold on. Why am I hearing something? It should be muted. Okay, now it's muted. Hezbollah just released a promotional video of like their rocket launches in the past day, and it's a bunch of it is just close-ups of rocket launches, which I don't know if they're from today. Then there's some video of like, you know, some of the rockets landed in Israel and, you know, caused damage and fires, and so that they have some shots of that in the video. I can't air the video. I don't have the rights to the stuff in it, but anyways, it's like a promotional video with music on it. They just posted it. And it's this thing. But I was going to read you the IDF statement that I saw.
ביום שישי האחרון,
Oh, so there was like a whole 7-minute statement today by the Israeli chief of the general staff, military official. So it's I'm not going to read the whole thing, but let me read you. It's like a few paragraphs. Let me read you. This is Lieutenant. Hold on. Lieutenant General in the Israeli military, Herzi Halevi, made a statement today. So let me tell you. Let me just go over some of what he said today, because I have the translation from Israeli Defense Forces. He said, the IDF has recently raised its readiness to the highest level. Last Friday, we struck the chain of command of Hezbollah's elite force, the Radwan force, and also their senior commander, Ibrahim Akil, was eliminated. This was a very important capability in the Hezbollah terrorist organization. I know how much it shakes up the organization. For years, he says, these commanders had been making plans to conquer the Galilee. They are responsible for the murder of many Israeli civilians as well as soldiers over the years. They were planning how to execute the next attack, and it is possible that they were working on that very plan in the meeting on Friday afternoon, working on how to infiltrate the state of Israel, murder civilians, kidnap IDF soldiers. We preempted them. It happened through very good capabilities of the IDF, both in intelligence and in offensive capabilities. The IDF strike on Hezbollah's chain of command is a clear message to the Hezbollah terrorist organization, he said. This is the Israeli chief of general staff today. He said the IDF strike on Hezbollah's chain of command is a clear message to the Hezbollah terrorist organization. It harms them greatly, and it is also a message to the entire Middle East and beyond it. We will know how to reach anyone who threatens the citizens of the state of Israel. This is not our first significant strike on the Radwan force, Hezbollah's special raid force. Since the start of the war, we have been striking and destroying the capabilities and infrastructure of this force using various methods and tactics, constantly taking initiative and operating continuously. Okay, he says, since the beginning of the war, the IDF targeted Hezbollah systematically day after day for months. We have been weakening the capabilities Hezbollah has built up over the decades, layer after layer, focusing on its launching and combat capabilities. He says, we are pushing Hezbollah away from the border, which threatens Israeli citizens, those who live near the border and want to know that it will not be there long. It will not be there longer. I guess Hezbollah. We have eliminated. Okay. I want to skip ahead a little bit. He says, we will bring the Israeli residents back to their homes, providing them with security, and if Hezbollah still hasn't understood it, it will receive blow after blow until that organization understands. We have, it must be said, many more capabilities that we are set to deploy, that we have yet to deploy. We are in a very high state of readiness in both in offense and defense. We are well prepared for the next stages and are planning them properly for the coming days. Tonight, he says, I want to turn to the residents of the North. I remember well that for nearly a year you have been away from your homes. I want you to know the IDF is working around the clock with many troops to ensure you return to your home safely. We will not compromise on your security, your family's security, the security of all your children. We are doing this hand in hand with the heads of the local authorities. And he also says, to the residents on the home front, you must continue to act, blah, 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 blah. Okay. He says, we are fighting to achieve all the objectives of the war, dismantling Hamas in Gaza, its commanders, its operatives, its infrastructure, returning all the hostages home. This is an urgent mission. Even as while we fight as the North, we continue to act to achieve this important and urgent goal. And of course, he says, ensuring the safe return of the northern residents to their homes. So you can hear, look, Netanyahu made a statement about this today. The chief of the general staff of the military made a statement about this today. Israel is telling you what's coming. They're being very open about this. They are saying, we are going to return the 60,000 Israeli residents who have had to leave northern Israel because of the Hezbollah attacks since last year. Israel is saying, we are going to return them to their homes where they will be safe. They've been talking about this for the last week. They're saying it today very openly in well-publicized statements that they're putting out there on social media, and they're publicizing a lot. That tells you where Israel is at and what they're planning on doing. Oh, did you guys see a flash somewhere? Where did you see it? You can tell me the time code. I can go back and look at it. You very well might see an Israeli airstrike. Could be lightning as well. If you tell me what the exact time was, 2:26:40. I can look it up. Anyways, I mean, Israel is being very open about what they're planning on doing. So I can't imagine they're going to say all this. I can't imagine Israel's going to say all this and then not do anything. You think it might be lightning? It may be, guys, it's raining there. I'll go look at it, but I just looked up one time code, people said, and I didn't see anything. Somebody said 2:26:40, there's nothing there. Just give me the time code and I'll look it up. A bunch of viewers think it's lightning. If you tell me the time on the clock when it happened, I can look it up. There's a clock there. You can tell me the second. 2:26:45. Oh, that was interesting. I don't know what that was. You know, I wonder if that was lightning. I'll show it to you guys. I have one of them. I'll show it to you. Hang on. Give me a moment. I'll pull it up here. Is this it? There it is right there. So okay, see the clock? Watch what happens here. This is from 5 minutes ago. Watch on the bottom right there. See that on the bottom right? Watch the bottom right. I'll play it again. Down here. I don't think that's an explosion. I think we'd be hearing about it. I think it's maybe, it's something with the camera or something. I mean, if that was an explosion, we would be hearing a lot about it. That's in Israel. That's the Haifa shot. Maybe it's some kind of light over there. I don't know, but transformer. I don't know. What I was saying is maybe it's lightning somewhere and it's reflecting off the camera or something. I mean, it's not the whole thing. It just, you know. The volume has been on that stream. So I don't know. I don't know if there's some weird thing with the camera where it's like increasing the light. Yeah, I know why you're saying it's not lightning. My point is that I don't think it's an I don't think it's a rocket exploding. What I was wondering is, could lightning make the camera act weird? Like, could it be a reflection of lightning in the camera or something? I don't know. You know. Anyways, I'm not going to... As I mentioned, I can't imagine a world in which it's an explosion we haven't heard about it. So... Ballistic Royal thinks it was a power surge. Lights go out after the flash, then come back on. Where? Over here? The lights over here? I'm not gonna... Yeah, you see some lights doing weird things over here. Maybe it's some electric thing or something. I don't know. All right, I'm not gonna... Guys, any of you, you can rewind the stream if you want and look at it yourself. You all have that ability. Most of you have that ability. You can rewind the stream and you can put it on your big TV and you can watch it 100 times if you would like. I appreciate you letting me know. Hey, thanks so much, Kinetic, for modding and also for your support, Kinetic. That's so nice of you. Thank you, Kinetic. Also, the Vladinator, our new member, the Vladinator, and Mert Marie. Thank you. But thanks for the heads up about that. It is 2:34 a.m. So I'm just checking for updates for a second here. Ariel, our viewer, says, I am in Haifa. I did not hear a boom noise. It is raining in Haifa. Thank you, Ariel, who is in Haifa. Andy Guns thought it was a light reflection from interior glass. That's what Andy thought. Our viewer GJA messaged me about Sinwar. Yeah, I haven't mentioned this in a little bit while. We talked about it a couple times before. There were some reports floating around about Yahya Sinwar today, but basically the reports say that he's been out of contact for a little while and that Israel's looking into whether he might not be alive, but there is no positive intelligence that he has been killed. It is just that he has been out of contact for a while. So, for example, Barak Ravid says, Israeli reporter, 2 Israeli officials with direct knowledge tells him that there is no positive intelligence that Yahya Sinwar is dead. It is all hopes and guesses which are based on the fact that he has been incommunicado in recent weeks. He is the leader of Hamas, who is number 1 on Israel's want list, who is believed to be hiding in Gaza. Similar report from Khan News, who said Israel is looking into it, but there is no positive intelligence that he is dead. Deborah Kish thinks Sinwar is alive and wants Israel to think he's dead. Thank you to Fishing247, who says, my neighbor said it was a lightning bug. I don't even know what that is. Oh, you mean like a bug in front of the camera or something? It looked like some lights went out on the street when it happened, so maybe it's some electrical thing. I'm not sure. Thanks to Cynthia Moon, our member, and our moderator, and Donna Smith, our member, Eamon O'Leary, our member Ruth Kafasi, all of our moderators, Linda Belk, Larry, Kinetic, Cynthia Moon, Ruth Kafasi, big thanks. Moment of Lovely, Big Ball of Yarn, Good Luck Duck, LB Prairie Dawn, Idaho Star, McRitches, Sarah Sirley Dev, Margaret Riley, Kay Lowry Body, Christina Neal, Paul Anderson. Big thanks. I have some other updates I wanted to mention. Hey, I want to read a little of this. I haven't even gotten to read this yet. It's from the Washington Post. Pager attack on Hezbollah forces Iranian-backed allies to rethink devices. Let's look at a little of that from the Washington Post. The Washington Post reports that Iranian-backed militants across the Middle East have ordered sweeping inspections of electronic devices as they rethink how to protect their communications following the devastating attack that caused pagers and walkie-talkies used by their ally Hezbollah to explode. Wow. By the way, one of these cameras is louder than the others. I want to turn it down a little bit. It's not that one. Which one is it? It's not that one. It's got to be this one. Yeah, I got it. Okay. So again, the Washington Post is reporting that Iranian-backed militants across the Middle East have ordered sweeping inspections of electronic devices as they rethink how to protect their communications following the devastating attack that caused pagers and walkie-talkies used by their ally Hezbollah to explode. In Iraq and the West Bank, Senior militants allied with Iran said they are examining equipment and issuing new rules on the use of personal devices by fighters. Analysts say other group systems are more secure, but they will probably seek to better protect their supply chains as they take stock of the fallout. A senior commander in the Jenin Battalion, a coalition of West Bank fighters led by Palestinian Islamic Jihad, said, "Extreme precautions will be taken, and we will keep devices away from us." He said his operatives already avoided cell phones and had recently ditched handheld radios they suspected Israel of hacking. U.S. officials who talked to the Washington Post acknowledged that Israel was behind the operation and said it informed Washington afterward through intelligence channels. The Washington Post says, the attack was unlike any other in size and scope, turning everyday devices into weapons of war. It began Tuesday when thousands of pagers distributed by Hezbollah exploded simultaneously across Lebanon, causing fear and panic on busy streets and in supermarkets as the injured overwhelmed hospitals. The assault continued Wednesday with the detonation of more devices, including two-way radios. According to the Lebanon Health Ministry, 37 people were killed over both days and about 3,000 more wounded. The Post says that the complex pager and radio operation stunned Hezbollah, which wields significant military and political power in Lebanon and counts Iran as its key benefactor. The leader of Hezbollah, in a speech on Thursday, said it dealt an unprecedented blow to the group, which began handing out pagers in the spring. Hezbollah was worried that the intelligence behind Israel's targeted assassinations of key commanders was based on hacked cell phone data, and in July, Nasrallah ordered his forces to stop using cell forces altogether. Israel's apparent ability to infiltrate supply chains, perhaps years in advance, as well as penetrate Hezbollah's low-tech communications network, has also sent ripples of fear through Iran's web of armed groups in the region, including in Syria, Iraq, Yemen, and the Palestinian territories. In Iraq and Syria, militants feared that Israel or the U.S. had attached tracking devices to items that the groups imported from abroad, according to Lahib Hegel, senior analyst for Iraq at the International Crisis Group. Michael Horowitz, who I actually follow, who is a global security analyst, I believe, he says Israel has used a key vulnerability in the way Iran and its proxies operate. They tend to rely in part on dual-use, commercially available products and parts, he said. Things you can buy over the counter, like a regular person would, which makes their supply chains quite vulnerable to a potential intelligence operation of the likes I think we are seeing. This is a vulnerability that extends beyond Hezbollah to all of Iran's proxies and Iran itself, he said. Interesting. A senior member of the Islamic Resistance in Iraq, which is a network of Iranian-backed militant groups, said to the Washington Post, on condition of anonymity, that fighters are not allowed to have smartphones. Instead, they use basic phones that they keep switched off and turn on only when necessary. Militant leaders also exchange messages through wired connections or hand-delivered paper notes. Still, after the explosions in Lebanon, orders were issued for a comprehensive inspection of all other devices, the members said. And another expert that the Washington Post talked to Ahmed Nagy said the Lebanon attacks were a game changer and that the Houthis, all the way in Yemen, are going to reassess all their supplier networks, things related to their telecommunication devices hardware, because it's not something normal. A Houthi spokesman said the Houthis were following the device explosions and learns lessons from the events in Lebanon. The article also says Hamas has long been on guard against this type of sabotage. Since 2008, an expert told the Washington Post, Hamas's military wing has used a wired telecommunications system in Gaza. Though Israeli bombardment during the current war has damaged the network significantly. However, since October, Hamas chief Yahya Sinwar, Israel's most wanted man, who is believed to be hiding in the group's extensive tunnel network, has managed to smuggle messages to Hamas officials abroad, including recent letters addressed to the leaders of Hezbollah and the Houthis. But an expert told the Washington Post, while Israel may have intended to instill fear among Hezbollah and its allies, that doesn't mean, analysts say, that they can, that Israeli intelligence agencies could carry out a covert attack of similar sophistication and scale elsewhere in the region anytime soon. An expert told the Washington Post, "We have to remember this is quite a significant capability that the Israelis have that they now have revealed. This takes a while to build up, and probably they are not going to be able to replicate it in the same way." Anyways, I thought that was interesting from the Washington Post. Pager attack on Hezbollah forces Iranian-backed allies to rethink devices. You know, we've talked about this, but you do wonder, was there an original purpose for this capability? There are some reports out there, like from Axios, claiming that the pagers and the walkie-talkies were supposed to explode like during an actual military action by Israel, like in a war with Hezbollah or in the opening stages of a war. And there's some reporting which suggests that Israel might have had to activate them early because Hezbollah was going to find out about them. You know, why did they do this now? They had this powerful capability. Some people think it was done to send a message to Hezbollah, to try to escalate, to get Hezbollah to de-escalate, to get them to maybe back down and agree to remove their forces from southern Lebanon and avoid a war. I don't know, but it's a very interesting question. You know, it was a powerful capability which Israel had, which took probably a ton of resources and effort and time to set up. And it was just used, but it was not used, apparently, didn't seem as part of a larger military operation. So why did they do it? Mary B thinks it just made Hezbollah madder. Proud says, sounds like something from a movie. Matt Kinney says it was strategic, precise military attacks on their soldiers. Did somebody see flares somewhere? Did anyone, one of our viewers claim they saw a flare on one of the cameras? If you did, you can tell me the time code and I can go back and look at it. Patricia says, can you make them matter? Thank you, Sheldon Creed's Revenge, for your nice comments. Cynthia Moon says they need flip phones. Louis says, I think it was to make many Hezbollah members unable to do combat. This could mean a ground operation by Israel. Look, and I do think this is important. I want to say this again because I feel like this point is being it's being underemphasized. Both, we are seeing these very public statements from the Israeli leadership, including today, saying what they're going to do. It's similar to before the invasion of Gaza. Okay? So, what did Netanyahu say today? This is public. He released this statement. What did he say? I'll show you. He said, where is it here?
Not accepted either. We will take whatever action is necessary to restore security and to bring our people safe back to their homes.
We will take whatever action is necessary to restore security on the border with Lebanon in northern Israel and bring the 60,000 Israelis back to their homes. Public statement. What else was said today? The chief of the general staff of the Israeli military said today, which was also publicly released, he said, we are well prepared for the next stages and are planning them properly for the coming days. And he said, the IDF is working around the clock with many troops to ensure the return of the northern residents to your homes safely. And says, we will bring the residents back to their homes in northern Israel, providing them with security, and if Hezbollah still hasn't understood, it will receive blow after blow until that organization understands. I mean, they couldn't be more clear about what they're saying they're going to do. This is not some big secret. They are publicly broadcasting this stuff. They're telling their own people, they're telling the international community, they're telling Hezbollah. So something has got to give here. But that's what they're saying. They've been doing it for a week now. They're saying we're going to make it so that the border area with Lebanon is safe for Israelis to move back, and that would require Hezbollah not attacking there anymore. So something's going to happen. I can't imagine they're going to go on the record and keep saying this stuff and then not do anything about it. That would make them look really stupid and bad and weak. Alexander Haynes says, got to respect the clear messaging of Israel in this one. I mean, they're being very, very clear about it. Aleppo Gambit says, message seems pretty clear to me. What is one of the... I got to turn down one of the shots. We're hearing like the cars drive by. I think maybe the Haifa shot. Is it the Haifa shot? Let's see. No, it's not the Haifa shot. That's not the traffic on the Haifa shot. It's one of the other two. I have 3 cameras. I got to figure out where it's coming from. Raquel Nolt says, I don't think Netanyahu is bluffing. Kevin Shea thinks Israel will take 15 to 20 miles like a buffer zone and keep it. Remember, there's a UN resolution from 2006 which calls for Hezbollah to not be in the 18 miles between, basically 18 miles north of the border. Jesse's girl thinks IDF has had enough. Donna Smith thinks he's not bluffing. Thank you, by the way, to Onslaught MP for your support, to Red Squirrel 82. Really appreciate that. Fishing 247 and Lee Jack and Tammy D. Thank you, Mostly Folders, a bit of everything. Said there was some sort of scam live on YouTube, but it's been taken down. Thank you, Mostly Folders. Pop says, what has Biden said about this? I mean, the U.S. government does not want, they want things to settle down. They would like a ceasefire. They are concerned about escalation. I can read you a John Kirby quote from today. Hold on. Oh, it's this one. John Kirby, National Security White House spokesman, warned, according to the Washington Post, warned that a full-fledged war in the north may not be the best thing for Israel, and that escalating this conflict militarily is not the best way to get the Israeli hostages home. Kirby said today the U.S. is trying to negotiate a diplomatic solution to avoid a regional conflagration, but conceded that U.S. efforts to secure a ceasefire and hostage release in Gaza have been stalled for weeks. And remember, Hezbollah says without a ceasefire in Gaza, they will keep attacking Israel. Jim Mullins thinks Israel is about to gain territory. I'm going to do a poll question. Will Israel try to occupy a buffer zone in Lebanon? How's that? Will Israel try to occupy a buffer zone in Lebanon on the border? Yes or no? Well, I just posted. You can answer the poll. I just posted the poll. Todd H says Israel does not want a ceasefire. That just kicks the can down the road. They want to settle this now. U.S. support is getting shakier every year, says Todd. Who knows if it will be there for Israel in 10 years? All right, let me show you the poll results, what people are saying. Uh, 78% of our viewers on YouTube say that Israel's going to try to occupy a buffer zone in Lebanon. Wow. That'd be a huge deal, you know. If Israel puts troops into southern Lebanon and says we're staying here for a while. So 78% of our YouTube viewers say that. And guess what the percentage is on Twitch? The percentage on Twitch is 77%. Wow. I did not think you guys were going to be that high on this question. Higher than I thought. Ruth says, that's crazy. Bunker Buster says, Twitch is usually opposite. Not always, but sometimes they're different. H. Parsons says, wow, Twitch and YouTube agree for once. Be a huge political thing. If they tried to basically take semi-permanently territory. As I said, we kept hearing talk of Israel doing this in Gaza, and they haven't done it yet. It's politically a big thing if you're going to keep troops somewhere and where it's not your territory. I'm not saying they won't do it, but it didn't happen in Gaza. There's troops there during the war, but Netanyahu would like to keep them there. But that's a big sticking point in the negotiations. Amnesia said it would definitely be a big deal. Red Squirrel says, Netanyahu said whatever is necessary, so it's a possibility. Paula Thompson thinks they won't leave Gaza. Alexander G says, Israel did make Golan a buffer zone, even settled it. But I mean, look again. They're saying that they're gonna do something. They're being very clear about this. Trillion says, like they did not keep troops in the Golan Heights or West Bank. Oh wait. Tatermong says, new settlement incoming. Appreciate you voting in the poll. Denise Brunson says this is very serious. I agree with you, Denise. It is very serious. I'm hearing rain on one of the shots. I got to turn the volume down. Yeah, the rain is coming from the Haifa shot. I turned the volume down on that one. Because I can't have the rain in my ears the whole time. Let me show you some other reporting here. If you give me a moment. This is not like huge news, but I'm seeing some reports that the Israeli Air Force is attacking in Gaza City, southeast of Gaza City, in Al Zaytun neighborhood. That's from Palestinian Information Center news outlet. And I saw it on a Telegram outlet I follow too. So it's not in itself huge news, but I mean, it just shows you the Israeli military is still operating in Gaza. They are still operating in Gaza. Someone asked about the Gaza, the Lebanon border, how long it is. Well, I mean, just so you can see, here's a map of, there's Israel, there's Lebanon, Gaza's down here. But the border here, I mean, roughly speaking, you know, like from here, I mean, it's not a straight line, but that's about 50 miles there, right? That's 50 miles, and it's going to be longer technically because it's going up and down. But just to give you a sense of the distance there. Lebanon is wider up here, but it's, you know, not all of it is, some of it's bordering on Syria. Down here. Hang on a moment. Let me just show you this update here from AP. What to know about the growing conflict between Israel and Lebanon's Hezbollah? Thanks for voting in the poll, by the way. So I'll just read a little of this for you, a little summary of what's going on there. By the way, that on the right there, that is damage from that building that was destroyed in that Israeli airstrike that killed a top Hezbollah commander and a number of Hezbollah operatives, and apparently other people as well. It was in a civilian area where Israel says these Hezbollah people were meeting. That was on Friday. But AP says this week saw a dizzying escalation in the nearly year-long conflict between Israel and Lebanon's Hezbollah. First came 2 days of exploding pagers and walkie-talkies used by Hezbollah. Deadly attacks pinned on Israel that also maimed civilians around Lebanon. Hezbollah's leader vowed to retaliate, and on Friday, the militant group launched a wave of rockets into northern Israel. Later that day, the commander of Hezbollah's most elite unit was killed in a strike in Beirut that killed dozens more people. Early Sunday, this morning, the cross-border attacks ramped up. Hezbollah launched more than 100 rockets deeper into northern Israel, with some landing near the city of Haifa, and Israel launched hundreds of strikes on Lebanon. Many fear that these events are the prelude to an all-out war between Israel and Hezbollah, the Iranian-backed Shiite Muslim group that is Lebanon's most powerful armed force. A war threatens to bring devastation in Lebanon, heavy missile fire into Israeli cities, and further destabilize a region already shaken by the war in Gaza. During more than 11 months of exchanging fire over the Lebanese-Israeli border, both sides have repeatedly pulled back when the spiral of reprisals appeared on the verge of getting out of control under heavy pressure from the U.S. and its allies. But in recent weeks, Israeli leaders have warned of a possible bigger military operation with the goal of stopping attacks from Lebanon to allow hundreds of thousands displaced by the fighting, hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands, they say hundreds of thousands, displaced by the fighting, to return to their homes in Israel near the border. That's what AP says. What is the situation on the border? Here's a little summary of the situation on the border from AP. Hezbollah fired 140 rockets into northern Israel on Friday, that was Friday, saying it was targeting military sites in retaliation for overnight Israeli strikes into southern Lebanon. No casualties were reported. It was a continuation of the near daily drumbeat of exchanges over the border since the Israel-Hamas war began last October 7th. The exchanges have killed around 600 people in Lebanon, mostly fighters, but including around 100 civilians, and about 50 soldiers and civilians in Israel. It has also forced hundreds of thousands of people to evacuate homes near the border in both Israel and Lebanon. Hezbollah leader Nasrallah promised to retaliate for the electronic device bombings, raising fears of an escalation from the group. But Hezbollah has proved also wary of further stoking the crisis. Hezbollah faces a difficult balance of stretching the rules of engagement by hitting deeper into Israel in response to its brazen attacks, while at the same time trying to avoid the kind of large-scale attacks on Israeli civilian areas that can trigger a full-scale war that it would rather not start and take the blame for. Hezbollah says its attacks against Israel are in support of Hamas. Last week, Hassan Nasrallah, leader of Hezbollah, said the barrages will not end, and Israelis won't be able to return to homes in the north until Israel's campaign in Gaza ends. After the strikes this morning, Israeli and Hezbollah leaders gave no signs of backing down, both defiantly warning of even heavier attacks in the coming days. As fighting in Gaza has slowed, Israel has fortified forces along the northern border with Lebanon, including the arrival this week of a powerful army division that took part in some of the heaviest fighting in Gaza. It is believed to include thousands of troops, including paratrooper infantry units and artillery and elite commando forces specially trained for operations behind enemy lines. Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant this week declared the start of a new phase of the war as Israel turns its focus toward Hezbollah. The center of gravity is shifting to the north by diverting resources and forces, he said. Oh, did you guys see another flash? Where was this flash this time? We saw a flash earlier. Guys, we saw a flash like an hour ago, which looked like an electric thing. It was not an explosion. About 15 seconds ago, 3:12:45. I'll look at it here. There's no rocket alerts. My guess is it's not any kind of explosion. But I'll check here. Somebody gave me a time code, but it doesn't show up. I need a time code. I need a time code. I can't look without a time code. No, I need it. Tell me what the clock said. What does the clock say when it happens? 3:12:45? Somebody told me that. I didn't see anything. I just went to 3:12:45. Nothing happens. I'm looking at 3:12:45. Nothing happens. No one has another time code. No one can tell me a time code. Right side of screen. 3:12:40. Oh, hold on. You know, that's a similar one. That's Haifa. That's not. It's weird, you know. That struck me as similar to the one we saw in Haifa. Both of these flashes have been on the Haifa cam. Again, I'm not aware of any rocket alerts or anything like that. So my guess is that this is not anything military because we'd be hearing about it. Let me show you. I'll show you guys. So you're going to look on the right. Look right over here. About a couple of minutes ago. Right there. See that? Right in here. I'll show it to you again. Right in here. I mean, we saw a big flash before. Again, if there was like a rocket that landed there and created that explosion, we'd be hearing about it. So I don't, and that's not in Lebanon, that's in Israel. So I don't know what it is, but I don't think it's hostile activity. I mean, it's a big light, but could have been an accident. You know, I don't know if there's something where, like, you know, they look, some rockets landed in the area this morning, so could it be related to that? Looks like a transformer blowing. Anyways. Oops. You can go back and watch it if you'd like. Thanks for telling me about it. There was another one in the middle. I mean, we saw one like an hour ago too. So but again, there's no report of any kind of explosion there or anything like that. We didn't hear anything on. I have the audio on. I just wanted to tell you, AP, in the article I was showing you, has a section, what is Israel planning? See, it says, what to know about the growing conflict between Israel and Lebanon's Hezbollah. What is Israel planning? Israeli officials say they have not made an official decision to expand military operations against Hezbollah and haven't said publicly what these operations might be. This week, the head of Israel's Northern Command was quoted in local media as advocating for a ground invasion of Lebanon. A UN-brokered truce to the 2006 war, that's Security Council Resolution 1701, the 2006 war between Hezbollah and Israel, that truce called on Hezbollah to pull back 18 miles from the border, but Hezbollah has refused to, accusing Israel of also failing to carry out some provisions. Israel is now demanding Hezbollah withdraw 5 to 6 miles from the border, the range of Hezbollah's anti-tank guided missiles. Israel and Hezbollah's 2006 war was a devastating month-long fight triggered when Hezbollah fighters kidnapped 2 Israeli soldiers in a cross-border raid. In that war in 2006, Israel heavily bombarded southern Lebanon and Beirut and sent a ground invasion into the south. The strategy, later explained by Israeli commanders, was to inflict the maximum damage possible in towns and neighborhoods where Hezbollah operated to deter them from launching attacks. But Israel could have a more ambitious and contentious goal this time, to seize a buffer zone in South Lebanon to push back Hezbollah fighters from the border. A fight to hold territory threatens a longer, even more destructive and destabilizing war, recalling Israel's 1982 to 2000 occupation of southern Lebanon. Wow. Israel has vowed it can turn all of southern Lebanon into a battle zone, saying Hezbollah has embedded rockets, weapons, and forces along the border. And in the heightened rhetoric of the past month, Israeli politicians have spoken of inflicting the same damage in Lebanon that the military has wreaked in Gaza. I don't know what's going to happen. That is from AP. Chris Walker says, if Hezbollah stopped shooting rockets, wouldn't this stop? Yes, if Hezbollah stopped attacking northern Israel, this would stop, but Hezbollah is saying they're not going to, that they are attacking northern Israel in support of Hamas. Thank you, by the way, to All of the moderators who are in our chat rooms, I really appreciate it. Thanks, A Moment of Lovely, for the gift sub. Thanks, Relila, for the gift subs on Twitch. I appreciate that. Thanks, Notorious Rob on Twitch as well. With what Israel is saying, it feels like something needs to happen soon. Either Hezbollah needs to back down and agree to stop attacking Israel and remove itself from close to the border. Israel doesn't want to have Hezbollah close to the border, even if it stops attacking, because they can just, say, fire anti-tank missiles again. They want them away from the border, and they want them to stop attacking northern Israel. So it looks like something is going to happen soon, but I don't know what it's going to be. Onslaught MP thinks Israel needs a buffer zone there now. Eric Voss said transformers have a blue light when they explode? This I do not know. Thanks to Powerful Prayers Network for your support. AFSA says, why doesn't Israel make the buffer zone in their own country? Well, in effect, there is right now because people aren't living near the northern border. I wonder if the Institute for the Study of War has any analysis that they have recently posted. I'm sure they will soon. Ian Fleming says, why would you stay in a place that is constantly at war? Well, Israel doesn't want, I know they don't want it to be, they want it to be safe for their people in the north. They say they're going to make it that way. Paulus says, did Israel actually threaten to make Lebanon like Gaza is now? The article didn't say Israel as a whole threatened it or that their leader threatened it. It said some Israeli politicians did. Marcel Invisible thinks Israel will never be safe. Oh, I have an interesting story for you. I have a very interesting story for you. I forgot to talk about this, and I have a story about it. It's really interesting. You know what I need to do? I'm going to take this opportunity to I'm going to take a 1-minute break. But there was a really interesting report. I forgot about it, and I saw Reuters has a story about it. So I definitely want to mention this. I have so much text on the screen that I don't know if I have a text source left. What's this one? Oh, there. Let me put this up and say, Steve will be back in 1 minute. I need 1 minute. Then I'm going to tell you this report, which I found really interesting. I need 1 minute. Having a little bit of a contact lens issue. I promise when I come back, I will tell you this. Steve will be back in 1 minute, but I'll put it over here. All right, give me 1 minute. I'm coming right back. Hang on 1 second here. Give me 1 second. We are back. Now I will share this story with you. I will share this story with you that I wanted to share with you. Okay. Has anyone heard this story? Has anyone heard this story that Israel is considering a siege in northern Gaza? I just heard this either last night or this morning. Has anyone heard this story? Israel is considering a siege in northern Gaza. And the idea, as I read it, that is they would like basically say, everybody in northern Gaza has to get out. And if you don't, and then after a period of time, we're going to consider everyone there a target. And we're not going to let any aid in. It's pretty interesting. So let me read you this. This is from Reuters. Okay? Israel is examining a plan to use siege tactics against Hamas in northern Gaza. Prime Minister Netanyahu was quoted by several Israeli media outlets as saying today. Netanyahu, his office did not respond to a request for comment. The reports cited unnamed sources at a closed parliament committee meeting. The plan, published by retired military commanders and floated by some parliament members this month, suggests that Palestinian civilians would be instructed to evacuate northern Gaza, which would then be declared a closed military zone. An estimated 5,000 Hamas militants remaining there would then be put under siege until they surrendered. Army radio reported that Netanyahu told lawmakers at Parliament's Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee that it was being examined. Public broadcaster Khan News quoted Netanyahu as saying that the blueprint makes sense and that it is one of the plans being considered, but there are others as well. Israel has faced fierce international criticism for the humanitarian crisis brought on by its nearly one-year offensive against the Hamas militant group in Gaza. Most of Gaza's population has been displaced. An estimated 1 million people, half the population, are currently crammed into a designated humanitarian zone that makes up less than 15% of the territory and is lacking essential infrastructure and services, according to the United Nations. Humanitarian access to northern Gaza, where estimates of the population run between 300,000 and 500,000 people, is especially difficult, according to the United Nations. And I saw another quote about this siege thing. Let me see if I can find it. Hang on. Let me see if I can find this. Then I'll take some comments from you guys. ASPR says the West wouldn't report that. It'll be a war crime. So Times of Israel also said that... Okay, the Times of Israel said that a retired Israeli major general told a committee of the Israeli Parliament last week, this is the quote from the Times of Israel, that they say that this prominent former major general in the IDF, major general retired, told an ex-head of the National Security Council, this is what he told Parliament last week. He said, "We have to tell the residents of North Gaza that they have 1 week to evacuate the territory, which then becomes a military zone, and a zone in which every figure is a target, and most importantly, no supplies enter this territory." Again, that article is from Times of Israel. It says, Netanyahu tells lawmakers he's considering general's plan to lay siege to northern Gaza. Actually, let me post something here. Give me a second. Also, CNN reported this. Multiple outlets are reporting. Multiple outlets are reporting that Israeli PM Netanyahu is considering a siege plan for northern Gaza. According one prominent hold on, I want to post this. Times of Israel quotes a member of the Israeli military as describing the siege as follows. We have to tell the residents of North Gaza that they have 1 week to evacuate the territory, which then becomes a military zone, a zone in which every figure is a target, and most importantly, no supplies enter this territory. All right, I want to get some comments from you on this. Sorry, I'm just posting this. Yeah, the thing that really struck me was the quote from the member of the military in the Times of Israel article. And I just posted a link to the Times of Israel article on my X account. But the quote, I'm going to read that quote again. We have to tell the residents of North Gaza they have 1 week to evacuate the territory, which then becomes a military zone, a zone in which every figure is a target, and most importantly, no supplies enter this territory. All right, let me read some comments from you. Sorry, I wanted to pass that along. I posted it on my X account, which is @Lookner. I'll post a link to that in the chat. Identifier thinks it would be a war crime. I don't know how many residents are still in northern Gaza. I think most of them are in the south. CD says that is awful. But this is being reported by multiple outlets, not just Times of Israel. CNN reported the same thing. Khan News, I guess, reported it. And by a siege tactic, that means you're like, again, you're not letting anything in. I mean, like food, supplies, nothing. It's a kill zone, says Mark Feinberg. I mean, would they, I don't know. Is this something they'll do? Oh, also, I think in the Times of Israel story, they said that they thought hostages were there. I thought one of the stories I read, it's not in that Times of Israel one. According to the CNN version of the story, they say that it would help. The idea is to force the release of hostages. CNN also says it's unclear how many Palestinians remain in the north of Gaza. And CNN says the idea comes from a group of retired military generals who have formally presented to the Israeli cabinet and powerful parliamentary committee. The goal is to starve the Hamas fighters and get them to release hostages. Still N20 says, what about the hostages? I guess if there's hostages, I guess everybody couldn't be a target if there's hostages there. Certainly. Anyways, I can't confirm the reporting, but it's being reported in multiple places. It's being considered. Eric McFadden says, Israel can do whatever she wants to do. Jason 108 thinks it's too much, far past the point of any justification. Corroded Pixel says, I don't see that happening, to be honest. By the way, thanks so much to Pickle Rick, who says, seems very quiet tonight. I mean, the last rocket alert or drone alert was, I want to say, 6 or 7 hours ago. These things tend to go in waves. They stop and then they start and all that. I think I'm happy that there hasn't been more of that stuff, but Israel is clearly indicating that they are going to take action to allow their residents to go back to northern Israel, which would involve making Hezbollah stop attacking northern Israel. Thank you, Powerful Prayers Network, by the way, for your support. Also, Mark Jennings. Thank you, Mark. Notorious Rob as well, and J Dread 3800. Thank you. Mike says, I sent you a message about the siege story from Times of Israel over an hour ago. Well, I'm sorry. I don't get all the messages right as they come in. I check periodically. I had seen it last night and I forgot to mention it. Evelyn in Maine mentioned the Wikipedia article, Siege of Gaza City. I don't think there was a Siege of Gaza City where they said, everybody get out, and then everybody remaining is a target. It says here, in early November last year, IDF surrounded Gaza City. Okay. And I'm confused, though, because I don't remember a thing from Gaza City where they said everybody get out and then we're cutting off all supplies. I mean, maybe it's something called Siege of Gaza City, but I don't remember it being something like that. Actually, if you look on the Wikipedia, it says dates last November to present. So it's not the same thing. It says it's gone on for 10 months. So I think the word is being used a bit differently there. Thank you, Evelyn, for sending that in. Ariel thinks that the reports that Israel is considering that plan are lies and are not included in Israel's plans for Gaza. Well, don't take it up with me. Take it up with multiple news outlets, including Times of Israel, who are reporting on it. I'm not telling you. I'm just telling these. You can find ABC News has a story based on the CNN story. So, I don't know, but maybe it's not. Reuters had a story about it. Reuters says Netanyahu's office did not respond to a request for comment. So, I mean, if they want to, Netanyahu can come out publicly and just say that's a lie. Maybe he will. Jake Rivers says, I thought Iran was going to retaliate like a month ago. They have still not retaliated for the Israeli assassination of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran. It is 3:50 a.m., by the way. 3:50 a.m. local time. We just check some of the other reporting going on about this. Yeah, I think the biggest news is that Israel's leadership, including Netanyahu, are publicly saying now that they're going to they're going to make it so that the Israeli citizens can move back to northern Israel. They're going to do whatever they need to do to make northern Israel safe for the Israeli citizens. Because that would involve changing the status quo and somehow forcing Hezbollah to stop attacking northern Israel. So it looks like something is coming, some way or the other. At the moment, fairly quiet right now, though. The Jerusalem Post has the same report as Times of Israel about the siege. Well, they're reporting what Khan News said. Khan News said that the proposal that Netanyahu is considering would see the northern Gaza Strip turned into a military area. Cutting off all supplies to northern Gaza. Mark Harrison thinks it's calm before the storm. The Wall Street Journal says Israel is giving Hezbollah an applied ultimatum: make a deal to pull back from the northern border or go to war. That's what's happening. That is what's happening. I mean, here's another Israeli official talking about this. The Wall Street Journal says that the Israel's economy minister in an interview said, "We cannot leave the north the way it is. I don't think Hezbollah will volunteer to move to the north, so there's another part of the war ahead of us." The Wall Street Journal also says the two sides are still holding back. Hezbollah has the ability to strike across the entirety of Israel with precision-guided missiles, but has not. Thank you, Jack. Have explosive been confirmed in the pagers? Or are batteries still a possibility? Yeah, so, yes, these things exploded. It was not an accident. It was not like accidental batteries exploding. The pagers and the walkie-talkies did not explode by accident. The New York Times reported that the batteries in the pagers had been laced with explosives. But if you're asking about whether it could have been an accident, there's no reporting whatsoever that suggests it's an accident. If that's what you're asking about. All right, guys. We've given you updates today. We've been on the air a few hours. Not a very active situation at the moment. I think we're getting close to that time. Although I said this last night, everything went crazy. But I think we're getting close to that time. I'm going to have to eat anyway. So I think what I'm going to do is start wrapping up the stream. If there's some big developments tonight, I'll just do another stream. I can always do another stream. But I think it's time. I think we've covered the big updates so far. Oh, thanks, by the way, to the Vladinator. Thanks, Vladinator. I appreciate your support. Vladinator thinks considering a peace plan with a two-state solution would be a way of getting civilians back to northern Israel. Thank you, Vladinator. Again, I don't know what's going to happen. There could be stuff that happens in 5 minutes or an hour or in 2 hours. So I've been covering this when big things happen or when there's like a bunch of news to update, I come on the air. So subscribe and follow the channel. Again, if there's big developments tonight, I'll come on the air. Subscribe and follow Agenda Free TV. We cover all kinds of live breaking news here without an agenda, including this situation. I'm sure we'll be doing more updates on this. Turn the notifications on. We have a notification system set up. It's free. You sign up once, and then you send a notification whenever we go live, and it works really well. The mods will post the link to the notifications in the chat, and you can also find that link in the description of this video on YouTube and Facebook as well. So sign up for the notifications. And big shout out to our moderators. Thank you so much. They are awesome. They're the reason that we can even have chat rooms. Ruth Krafasi over there on YouTube right now, and all of our other YouTube moderators who've been there, like Kinetic, RJ. I'm trying to remember Cynthia Moon, everybody else who was there, I thanked before. Linda Belk and Larry on X, on Twitch, Big Ball of Yarn, Good Luck Duck, LB Prairie Dawn, Idaho Star, I Got That Fire, Sarah Surly Dev, all of our Twitch mods, our Facebook mods, Valerie, Gail Griffin, Paul Anderson, Kay Lowry Body, Christina Neal, Charlotte Webb, Ronald Egnor, all of our Facebook mods, thank you. One of these is loud. Which stream is that? That one right there. I got it. Thank you, Unleashed Pokey Gamer, for your support, who says, Arabs rejected two-state solution. Hey, thanks to everybody who donated so much. Thanks so much to everybody who donated. It's so nice of you guys. You are the ones who allow this channel to exist, who allow me to be able to buy footage, like the footage we've been watching from Reuters. So I really, really appreciate your support. Thank you so much. If you ever want to donate, you can go to agendafree.tv, agendafree.tv, but huge thanks to you. I will post updates on my X account while I'm not on the air. Follow me for breaking news on X @Lookner. That is where I post updates when I am not on the air. @Lookner on X. I'll post a link in the chat. Also, we do, we have speaking of chatting, we do have a chat. When we're not on the air, there's a chat for viewers on Discord. It's free. You can chat with other viewers there. That chat you can find at the same link as the notifications link. So if you click on the notifications link, you can also find the Discord chat. You can check that out. A lot of our viewers like to do that. Hold on a second here. Let me just... One of these streams is, I think, maybe One of the 3 streams we've been watching, I think, is having a little bit of an issue. I'm seeing a spinning circle on it. Oh, that one is ending. Okay, it doesn't matter for now. One of the 3 streams we've been watching is ending on Reuters, I think. Am I right about that? Or no, I might not be right about that. No, I think I'm wrong. Doesn't really matter right now. Anyways, I'll keep an eye on all of them. I'll be keeping an eye on this while I'm eating and doing whatever and not on the air. And if there's big news, I'll come back on the air. Hey, a quick reminder, if you watch on YouTube and you want to turn on the YouTube notifications, which I would suggest as another good way to find out when we're live, you got to do this on YouTube to turn the notifications on. You got to click the notifications bell and choose all notifications. So you need to subscribe and then click the bell and then choose all notifications, like that. Do that. Turn the YouTube notifications on. Also, I post Agenda Free TV scheduling updates on the X account. You can follow Agenda Free TV on X at Agenda Free TV. I post scheduling updates. I post when we're going to come on the air, so you can get those updates over there at Agenda Free TV on X. Hey, thanks so much, Shaft, for the gift membership. So nice of you. Make sure you thank somebody if they give you a gift membership or a gift subscription. You know, last night we were going off the air and we had finished and I had put up the closing graphic with the music. And when that happened, all these rocket alerts happened and we stayed on the air. But again, if there's big of it, I'm not going to come back on the air for like one rocket alert, just to be clear. You know, rocket alerts happen all the time there. So just because there's one rocket alert, I'm not going to necessarily start a live stream. But if there's big developments, I will come on the air and cover it. Also, man, that is loud. They're like cleaning the street on one of the streams, and it's like really noisy. The other ones are not as noisy. Nearly as noisy. Okay. Hey, I want to thank our Twitch subscribers like Wall Street and Shaggy and Trillion H2O and One World Order. Thanks so much for supporting the channel. I Got That Fire, Big Ball of Yarn. Really appreciate your support. Jack's Animals, Clearly Crystal Clear, and Farquad 67, Real Change. Thanks to all of our subscribers. Tuck F, thank you. J Dread, Moment of Lovely, Relila, and others. And all of our Facebook subscribers too, like Eve Richards, Beth Shepard. Beth was modding too. Beth Shepard, thank you for modding. Lou Green, Robert Rial II, Margaret Riley, Kay Lowry Body, thanks for being subscribers on Facebook. And Diane Allworth, Jane Summers. Thanks to all of our Facebook subscribers and our YouTube members like Evelyn in Maine, Eric Johnson, Britt, Marty Hagwood, Mythical, Jesse's Girl, Pickleball and Politics, Sea Chase, Dean R., Alexander G., H. Parsons, Schaff, Corim Len, Kristen Smith, Space Fraggle, Nan B., Happy Go Lucky, Lois Cox, Sunshine in Arizona, Schaff, Anonymous Nobody, My Life Unscripted, Paula Faust, Car C, all of our YouTube members, Jennifer Rochelle and others, and our other viewers. Terry Asbill, Brad S., Plank, John Q. Public, Toby Network, Indica Love, Christina Grady, thanks for watching. All right. Danica Bartolo Bonici, thank you for watching. And thanks for letting me read your comments on the air and sending me news updates. I really appreciate that as well, everyone. Wee Nesty, thank you. All right, we'll see. Who knows what will happen tonight? I could be back on the air with more news. But for now, I'm going to take a break and eat something. So that is it for now. I really appreciate you guys tuning in for our update of the situation with Israel and Hezbollah on the Israel-Lebanon border. That's it for now. We will see you soon with more live breaking news coverage right here at Agenda Free TV.